All right, positioning. So what is positioning? Positioning, quite frankly, is just capturing mindshare in your premium prospect's mind. So let's deconstruct this a little bit. Basically, what you want to do is with whatever it is that you're doing, you want to be the go-to. You want to be the one that your premium prospect thinks about when it comes to their pick for a chiropractor, for a health coach, or for a psychologist, or for a financial expert, or for an SEO expert. Whatever it is that you do, you want to capture mind share. And premium prospect it's also known as your ideal customer, but I say premium prospect because we want to precondition, pre-authorize, pre-persuade, if you will, that perfect person who you want to be advertising to. And this is going to help you be really strategic about who you're reaching out to, who you want in your ecosystem of potential clients, which is super exciting. So the thing is when we start our own business, we get maybe overwhelmed. Like, where do you start? Do you go through the business plan? Do you look at your KPIs? What kind of analysis? What kind of market and this and that? Well, this is where that positioning is that starting point. It's basically, I equate it to, it's kind of like if you want to build a house, you want to build your dream home. And before you build that dream home, who do you go to? You go to the architect, right? You go to the architect so that they can build the blueprint and the plans for your dream house. See, most people start and they focus on the curtains and the couch and the paint color and the wallpaper that they're going to have, but that's really putting the cart before the horse. You really want to build the foundation first, because without that foundation, you basically are going to build your business so it's like a house of cards. You don't want to do that, right? So really think about it this way, is that positioning is a strategy. It's the blueprint for your business. It's like you're being the architect and structuring that so that you have clarity. And then branding, because that's another thing. They kind of mix it together. I often hear people say, oh, yeah, no, I have my positioning, I have my logo and my website. That's completely different. It's a different thing. Pretty much branding is a creative interpretation, right? It's once you have the positioning, once you have the architect build the blueprints, once you have that strategy, then you focus on how it's going to look, right? That's where people fall short. So that's really the difference between standing out from the crowd in that sea of competition that you're facing. And here's how to know, just as a pulse check, if you have not been standing out. Okay, if you've not been standing out. So I thought I'd include some examples here. Number one, really hiding behind who you really are. I see something rampant that's happening, and I'm not kidding. I see it all over the place where people are really not showing up with how they really want to, who they are, right? They're not showing up with who they really are. They're hiding behind what they think they should be talking about, or what they think they should be focused on, or what they think they should be saying, or what they think they should be included in their website or in their marketing and all these other things. And you're really hiding behind who you really are. What if you just show up and highlight who you really are? What's wrong with that? But what I'm seeing is a lot of copycat marketing. I actually talked about it in a recent podcast that I was on, where it's just this rampant thing where coaches are taking these really crazy pictures of them throwing themselves into Vada sprinkles and being like with this rainbow and fluffy stuff. Like, if that's not you, why would you ever do something like that? So some people are feeling that they have to do that to be on brand or to be relevant. And I have to tell you, that is the wrong approach. So don't be a copycat. That is the worst thing you can do. The other thing is that I see quite a lot when I ask my potential clients, my premium prospects, if you will, how are you pricing yourself? And I can tell where they are in their positioning by this answer that I get. I say, are you high priced, low priced, or reactively priced? And I have to tell you that most often people will always say, oh, well, so I'm a personal trainer and I'm charging $70 a session because, quote unquote, that's what the market will bear. Or I have this course and I'm doing this because that's what the market will bear. Instead of really focusing on their positioning and making price irrelevant, because it truly is. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is saying no to the price war game, because when you are pricing your services or your products in the low end of the market or barely squeaking by on margin, that's a really tough place to be. And I feel like people are always chasing their tails and like the margins are really slim and it's just such a struggle to get ahead. So there's no competitive advantage being cheap unless you are a commodity. And by commodity, I mean something like a raw material or something that it doesn't have any differentiation. So please say no to the price war game. You don't have to price yourself based on quote unquote what the market will bear. I think that is a misconception by far, and it's actually hurting you, hurting your margins, hurting your business, really hurting your bottom line, and more importantly, your positioning on how you're standing out. See, it's basically like, and I use this example just to keep it really simple because I like simple, is if you have a bowl of ice cream and how much would that be? Like $3, right? But if that ice cream, you take that ice cream and you're adding all these delicious toppings, the syrup and all these treats in there and the sprinkles and the raspberries and the cookie crunches and the crumbles and the sprinkles and the whipped cream and all these amazing things. That same Sundae you'd pay $20 for, right? Because I know I have paid $20 in the city where I live. So that's the difference between something that's just the rational value and just saying that you're a coach. Because just saying you're a coach or just saying you're a consultant, that's not enough. What we want to do is build up all that really awesome extra that makes you extra, that makes it intrinsic, that makes you premium. And that's really what we want to focus on. So start thinking about how that positioning is really the difference maker so that you can earn more money and really stand out. Remember this whole concept of capturing mindshare, which is really, really important. I use these examples too to just kind of explain the difference. What is the difference between these two cars when the chassis is the same, the horsepower is the same? Basically, it's the same car. The difference is the logo, or right, the brand. But Porsche has built intrinsic value. They have tremendous brand equity as a premium brand. And that's why people pay the additional just about $30,000 versus a Volkswagen Touareg, right? It's the branding, it's that positioning of where they are falling. Or for example, bringing it down to a person instead of just looking at products, your local GP, general practitioner, let's say they're on average, $80 a visit, as opposed to the celebrity physician here on the right hand side, which cost $800 a visit. And that's an actual picture of a celebrity doctor that I went to about 2 years ago in Manhattan on Fifth Avenue because I was having some struggles with my health. And basically, a friend of mine had told me about him and said, he's really awesome. He's Gwyneth Paltrow's GP. And I'm like, well, surely he must be good if he's Gwyneth Paltrow's GP. So really, as it turns out, I did. I flew to Manhattan. I met this doctor. I paid $800 a visit. I sat on the beautiful leather couch and enjoyed water with cucumber and had this whole like elevated experience with him. Did he help me? He kind of did. It turns out I found somebody else local to me. But the fact is, I was willing to pay a 10x premium because of the perception, because of the positioning of who he was and what he offered in the way that he did. And I'll talk more about that as we continue with this. And then one of the biggest examples that I can give is, for example, life coach Luann. The average life coach makes just about $47,000 a year on average versus Gabrielle Bernstein, who reportedly, and I really think it's higher at this point, has a yearly revenue of $2 million plus. Okay, now she is a brand. She has tremendous brand equity, and she's an author, and she's done so many cool things in order to grow her brand. At the end of the day, they're both life coaches with probably the same type of certification. So what is it that makes Gabrielle Bernstein so dramatically different? It's the positioning. So that's really where we want to get to, is that different is better than better for sure. So where people are focused on improving the mousetrap and this and that. What you want to be focused on is the different. What is it that makes you different? And so the call to action on this to get the wheels turning for you is to start to think about what's different about you. So as a solopreneur, as an entrepreneur, consultant, coach, in your space with what you're doing, jot down what you do. So let's say, for example, at the end of the day, I'm a coach, right? I'm a business coach. Jot down what your superpower is, and then I jot down my background, my experience that I bring to the table. And I took a survey. I went out there and I surveyed people, and I'll talk more about this as we continue because I'm breaking this all down a little bit more for you as the days continue. And again, these lessons all stack one on top of each other, but I'm doing this so that you start to get the wheels spinning around seeing yourself as different, seeing as not playing the price war game, seeing as not just the ice cream, but the really delicious sundae, right? If you were to give you that visual, to really figure out what it is that is being highlighted with what you do. Are you really promoting the you that makes you, that special stuff, right? So we're going to be talking about more in this, and this all has to do with the P2P framework that I'm going to finally go into more tomorrow and explain what exactly it is and why I believe it is really the secret sauce to positioning yourself to make your competition irrelevant, standing out, super unique.